you hear loud and clear? Cool, whenever you're ready, Mac. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Please give her a
absolutely.
round of applause. Let her hear y'all clap. There we go. Great.
Oh, wait. So am I like, is this like an auditorium? Like, am I displayed on an auditorium screen? Is that how? Oh, wow. Okay.
Turn around
That's
so you can see
amazing.
all of our friends.
Okay, yeah, see, I can't see y'all. So I don't know how many people I'm talking to. Oh, it's a class. What's up, y'all? Okay. Hello. Okay, I love it. Keep that camera on. Henry, keep this just so I know, just so I can see some
I
people.
got you. No worries.
That helps me. Okay, absolutely. Welcome, you guys. I am so incredibly honored and happy to be here to be able to talk to you all. I'm going to try to keep this presentation interesting, engaging. You see, I have a lot of energy, and I promise I'm not running on caffeine. This is just, I'm high on life right now. But I always love when Emily K. Center asked me to come and talk to students about how to be successful in school. That's really the crux of today's conversation. You guys, I take it just by raise of hand, I'm looking in the screen. How many of you guys, all of you guys are in high school, right? Raise your hand. Okay, just want to make sure I can see y'all. So hey, put your hands up. Okay, wonderful, good. Yeah, I'm not letting y'all off the hook with anything. So yeah, we're really just talking about how to put our best foot forward, how to be successful. And this is one of my favorite topics of all time, time management. And me being a college student, I've been in college for 2 years now. I'm a rising junior at Duke University, just throwing out some general college success tips, that honestly are probably going to be very applicable to your life right now. So none of this stuff is going to be too far out of reach. We're going to try to keep it very, very accessible. I'm going to try to ask you guys some questions as we go along to just keep things engaging and interactive. So I'm going to need some brave souls to pipe up so that it's not awkward and awkwardly silent. Also, I'm going to leave a little bit of time at the end of the conversation, maybe 10, 15 minutes, depending on how fast I can get through here. Just so that you guys can ask me questions about really anything and everything that's on your mind. With that, we can go ahead and get started. My name is Mackenzie Warren. I probably should have said my name first. That's okay. And I go by Mackenzie or Mac, whatever you're more comfortable calling me, but both work perfectly fine. And like I said, I am a rising junior at Duke University. I wish I could have been there in person with you guys today, but I'm actually in DC, working for the central office of DC Public Schools. So this is the best I can do is tune in virtually, but still I just imagine my presence is there with you guys in person. Hopefully you can feel it through the screen. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I always like to start my presentations just with a general overview of what the heck are we even going to be talking about today? What can you expect to get out of today's conversation, today's presentation? And really, it's going to be two things. We're going to be not only talking about how to effectively manage our time, but I want to keep it very concrete, very accessible. I don't like to speak in abstract. I don't like for you to be like, well, that was some good information, but what are the actual practical steps I need to take? We're going to talk practicality today, folks. So hopefully by the end of this, you're like, all right, I know exactly what I need to do starting as soon as we're done with this call. So that's what I'm hoping. And then also, kind of like I mentioned earlier, some of my favorite college success tips to just share. And really, these skills and stuff are going to be applicable to any academic setting that you're in. So, high school, in college, if you decide to, go and pursue another academic track instead of college, if you decide to go to grad school, all of these things are very applicable to just any sort of academic environment. And we're talking about how to thrive, not just survive. We're not doing this sink or swim thing where, we're barely staying above the water. This is going to be how to actually swim, how to thrive, how to be successful. So with that, I first just want to get into what is time management. So really, time management is about allocating your time to tasks so that you can maximize your productivity. And this is the thing, folks. I probably don't need to say this, but this helps for me to reiterate my point, is that we have 24 hours in a day, okay? And for probably 8, if you're me, probably a little bit less than 8, but 8, 9 of those hours will just be generous. You are asleep. So you have about 15 to 16 hours of work time, awake time in a day, and probably a little bit less because, you're eating, you're socializing, whatever. So we want to make sure that of the time that we are in operation and we are, doing our stuff, that we are maximally productive. We are getting, as much as we can done, but in a way that is not just, okay, we're just rushing through and this is just like, shabby work, but we are getting as much as we can done and producing a product that is quality. So again, I'm keeping this specific to an academic setting. So talking about quality work, whether that's, if you are turning in an assignment, quality work in your extracurriculars, because that's something that you're going to be doing in college with clubs, etc., and doing all of those things in a way that is sustainable. So before I define sustainability, I want to ask you guys, when I say producing quality work in a sustainable way, what do you think that I'm talking about? Just shout it out, because I can't really be like you in the back, because it's just a little hard to do that. So who wants to take a shot at what it means to work sustainably? All right, I'm going to pick on people. The girl that just closed her laptop in the front with the water bottle on the left.
The question is, what does it mean to work sustainably?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't know, do the things you're capable of doing, you're not over. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just speak a little bit louder. I'm trying.
Doing the things you're capable of doing, not overreaching. I don't know.
Yes. What is your name?
May?
Say again.
May?
Okay, not gonna lie, it's cutting out. I didn't really hear it, but let me see. Did somebody put it in the chat? Wonderful. May. Yes. May, you want to do this presentation because you got it down. That was perfect. Honestly, it is working sustainably is about doing what is in your capacity, making sure that when you are working and you're working productively, that you're not overreaching, you're not overcommitting yourself, because at the end of the day, y'all, we are young. We got so much life ahead of us, 60, 70 years, and we do not want to burn out as young students, right? And so we want to make sure that as we are managing our time, as we are doing our work, that we are operating in a way, we are taking care of ourselves in whatever that means. So making sure that our well-being is prioritized, and that comes from not overcommitting. That comes from not stretching yourself too thin. So perfect job, May. All right. So let's talk about, why is time management even important? I mentioned that time, I always like to think of, time equals money. The way that we hold on to our money, we're like, dang, I don't want to spend it. I just want to make sure that it's used correctly. That's how important your time should be to you. Any of my friends will know, dang, Mackenzie is always talking about time. I'm probably setting timers for things. I'm like, okay, lunch is over. See y'all, because I know that I have a very limited amount of time in my day that I am operating with. And I respect that. And I'm like, hey, this is a scarce resource that really it's not going to renew until the next day. And I have a ton of things on my plate, and I want to make sure that I'm utilizing this resource to the best of my ability. So really, if you're thinking about conceptualizing time in that way, time management should become an even more important concept in your mind. Another reason that time management and really learning this skill and taking it seriously and understanding the practicality of it and how to, actually manage your time and not just think about it in the abstract, is that if you think your life is busy now, folks, your life is going to be 10 times more busy when you're in college and 100 times more busy when you're an adult. If you're stressed, you don't even know what stress is until you get to college. And then if I'm stressed, I'm like, shoot, I'm not even an adult paying bills. I'm not even doing any of that stuff. So life is just going to become even more of a tough juggling act, where you're going to feel like, dang, I still have the same amount of time in each day, but it feels like there's less, because you're always going to have more and more things to do as you get older. So learning this skill now, when you are young, when, you have the ability to kind of experiment with what works for you, is going to be really, really important, so that you're able to actually juggle all of the things that you have without letting the ball drop, so to speak. The other thing that I want to mention is, I always think of my sort of the way that I'm allocating my time in college and just, in life, is dedicated to the 3 S's. So, and this applies to you now, an adult, college, whatever, is you want to make sure that you have time for 3 important things. One is your sleep. Okay. Sleep is important, folks. And obviously, I'm not going to talk about eating and all of that because, you need to do that stuff. But yeah, when I'm thinking about time, I think of 3 important things that we need to just function as humans. So sleep, socializing, so spending time with your friends, spending time with your family, refuel time, maybe you're spending time with yourself, whatever that is, and then school or your work or whatever those responsibilities are. So extracurriculars are folded into that. The schoolwork that you do is folded into that. When you become an adult, the job that you do, it's all folded into that. So your time should be allocated in a way that encompasses all 3 of those things in the amount that you personally need them. So the amount of social time that you need is going to be different from the amount of social time that the person next to you needs, the amount of sleep that you need. It's all going to be different, on an individual basis. So when I kind of like to think of managing my time broadly, I like to ask myself, so how much time do I need to sleep to be able to function in the morning? For me, probably, and this is not necessarily healthy, but I can function like, at the top of my game, 7 hours of sleep, like I'm good. Any less than that, it's going to catch up to me. I should be eating 8 to 9. Like I understand that, but like comfortably I can operate at 7. Now, you guys, some of you in the room might be like, okay, I can relate to that, Mac. But others might be like, nah. I need 8 to 9 to be operating at max productivity. And that's fine. But you need to know that. So you're like, all right, with somebody like me, all right, I'm operating with 17 hours of, time in the day, but somebody that has, getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep, it's going to be a little bit less time that you're awake and have things to do. How much time do you need to socialize? Are you somebody that needs to eat lunch with somebody, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day? And that's 3 hours of your time that's already, blown right there. I don't know. You have to know that for yourself and what you need to be able to refuel your cup and to be able to operate. But thinking about those things broadly and having a good idea of like, okay, I probably need like 1 to 2 hours of social time a day, etc. That'll give you an idea of like, all right, how much time am I operating with in terms of, work? Now, I also just want to caveat here that when I say school, sleep, social, obviously the one of these that needs to have the most hours dedicated to it is which one, folks? Of the 3, which one do you think needs to have like the most time that goes towards it? Just shout. Yes, that is right. Ding, ding, ding. Golden sticker to the one that said that. School, work, job, responsibilities. We're not made to sleep 14 hours of the day, socialize for another 10, and have no more work to, no time to actually work. Especially when we're thinking in a college setting, when we're thinking of when we first, start our job or whatever, your work is going to take up the most amount of time in your life. You're probably working 40 hours a week in school, 40, 50, whatever. You're spending class time, you're spending time outside of class working. So just when I say, customizing your schedule based on how much time you personally need to socialize and sleep and all that stuff, just don't take for granted like the fact that at the end of the day, you are in school to like learn and to get good grades and to put your best foot forward. So obviously the most amount of time should be going to that. That should be the priority, right? Okay, so just to kind of talk about, to contextualize, why time management is really important. I kind of want to just bring up just some reflections on what my life was like as a first year in college. So that's about 2 years ago at this point, and hopefully, some of these things will just give you guys a little bit of reassurance, but also, avoid some of the mistakes that I made. So I remember, like I said, I go to Duke, and obviously very academically rigorous school, lots of work and class my class load was pretty hefty. But I would say that if you are somebody who takes school seriously now in high school and you're like, I want to succeed, I don't want you to worry about getting to college and being like, dang, is this sort of academic momentum going to carry through? If you're doing it now, you are not any different of a student when you get to the next level. So don't allow that to be something that gets in your head and serves as some self-fulfilling prophecy where you're like, am I capable of doing this? Whatever. Yes, you are. All you really need is drive and intentionality, and to be a hard worker, and you're going to be fine wherever you end up. Really, the tough part about college, and you can ask any adult that you speak to, is the fact that you guys in high school are so used to showing up to school, 8 a.m., whatever, whenever school starts, getting out at 4:30, and you are on the school grounds all day long. For those 8 hours, you are in class, going on to the next place. Like, all you do during that time frame is school, school, school. When you get to college, on the other hand, you can kind of take however many classes you want. I mean, obviously there's a minimum. Some people take more classes than the minimum. Other people take the bare minimum, whatever. But you are going to have a lot more time on your hands, or at least the illusion of a lot more time. And what I mean by that is there might be a day where you literally only have one class that you have to report to. That's one class that's an hour and 15 minutes. And then the rest of the day, you're just like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't have class. Like, what am I supposed to do with my time? Like, shoot, I have a ton of time. Let me go hang out. Let me go catch lunch with so-and-so. We'll go to a party tonight. There might even be a day like on a Friday, you don't have any class. And it's just like, whoa, you might feel overwhelmed by the fact that you have all of this time. And that is where there's that pitfall of misusing your time and not actually, treating it like, okay, it's an actual school day, but, I'm just not reporting to class. I still need to utilize this time productively. And so my problem, and probably by the end of this, you'll realize I'm a little bit of a bookworm, a little bit of a nerd. So I probably spent a little bit too much time on school, which is problematic in its own ways. So I don't encourage you guys to do that. Make sure you're sleeping, make sure you're socializing, doing things like that. But I was like, okay, I have all of this extra time on my hands. How about I just work like all day long? Like, I have a whole day of not going to class. I'm just going to go and work from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. And just, the more time I put into the assignment, it's just going to be an even better assignment. I'm going to get even better grades. It's just going to be great. Now, if we go back to this slide, remember I said that you need to have this balance of school, sleep, and social. Well, I was just like all in on the school. My scales were tipped completely like this, and there was no balance at all, because I wasn't managing my time in a way that was sustainable, right? And so, if your scales are tipped in, well, too much social, that's not going to be sustainable. Your grades are going to drop. Too much sleep, well, the other two are not going to. It's kind of like you need to have that perfect balance of the scales. And so my direction was, I was not going out and making friends. I was, cooped up in my room. This was when my college class was extremely affected by COVID. So we had all virtual, we didn't have roommates. So I was very isolated, very alone, and was just, mental health was just tanking down the drain, folks, because I didn't have that balance. And so what I had to realize is, okay, I understand that I'm not in class, the way that school was structured in high school. And, obviously it's important that I'm dedicating my time to, my schoolwork, but also I need to utilize this other time in the day to go and like hang out with people and to also, be social and stuff like that. So this time management concept became a lot more, resonant with me, because I was like, okay, this is extremely important. I just need to get it together. Like something's got to give, something's got to change. Something's got to change here. So before we we're going to delve into that a little bit more, but some just like general things I want to give you. So we're going to put a pin in that temporarily. Some general things that I want to give you about, life skills, education skills, academic skills in general, to be successful. And then we'll return back to this time idea of like, when I had that revelation of, okay, something's got to change in the way that I'm managing my time so that I can, equalize those scales. Is one, you want to make sure wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing, have familiarity, immense familiarity with what are the resources that are at your fingertips to help you. Obviously, all of you guys are doing a really good job of that, given that you are doing this Game Plan College workshop during your summertime. Other people are out, maybe sleeping right now. I don't know, playing at the beach, whatever, just doing whatever. You guys are like, hey, I want to get to that next step. I'm ready to talk about college and to be successful. This is a resource that you've identified and that you've tapped into. So I want you guys to keep that sort of practice at the forefront of your mind as you move through all of the settings in your life. When you're in a class, look around and say, okay, what is available in here that's going to help me out? Is it a peer that I want to connect with? Is my teacher office offering certain tutoring hours, or time to meet outside of class? Is she giving me PowerPoints that I can take home? Whatever the resources that are available in your class, in your school, maybe that's counseling services in your community, such as the Emily K Center and Game Plan College. Identify those, write them down, track them in whatever way. If I would show you, but you're not going to be able to see it on my phone, just because of the way that the screen is. But I have a notes app on my iPhone where I literally list out like all of the resources that are important to me at my university. Mental health, academic related, study abroad related, all of the things that I could possibly think of that, like, at one time or another I might need to tap into. I have kept track of those things. And so that's sort of something that I want you guys to do as well as you move through your life. Networking is another thing that you guys are at the age where it's time to practice that skill. There's always going to be somebody who is further along on the path that you are trying to pursue. And so making sure that you take the time to get to know those people, take the time to befriend them and form genuine relationships with them, so that when a time comes where you need some help, whether that's, hey, I'm looking for a job, can you, give me some insights? Hey, I might need you to write a letter of recommendation for me. Hey, you took this class, how does this teacher grade things? Hey, do you have any study resources that you can pass along to me since you're not utilizing those anymore? Ask people. In high school, that's going to be the people in the grades that are above you. That's also going to be your teachers that, teach courses that you're really interested in. Potentially you want to, go and have a professional career with. These are also, when you're consulting and being advised by older people, when you're talking about things like, dang, even skills just like time management, people want to take time with you to say, hey, you're struggling to organize your day. You're struggling to figure out how much time to allot to a certain class, whatever. Those are people that you can go to and say, hey, I've admired the way that you've done this. Do you mind sitting down and taking some time with me to talk this through with me? I'm another person that is a resource. So, what I'm inviting you to do is at the end, when I give you a way to get a hold of me, if you're somebody where you're like, dang, I want to talk to that girl again. Shoot, I want to get to know her and I want her to know me. And like, maybe there's some sort of use that I could have for her in the future or whatever. That's how you do that. You don't just like let people like me or other people in your life that, you may feel inspired by or whatever, just get away. And you're just like, well, I guess, I'm never talking to them again, like, etc. So making sure that you're taking advantage of opportunities to form relationships with people who, there could be some sort of quid pro quo, some sort of reciprocal benefit that happens between the two of you. So anyhow, now those are just my two digressions about things I just wanted to mention in terms of success tips. But the main thing that I had to do for myself when I was in college, given that I was just sort of overdoing it and had my scales tipped in the wrong direction, was I had to even things out a little bit. I had to say, okay, how can I figure out a way to take time away from this school area and put it somewhere else so that I am less tempted to just overindulge in working. And so what I decided to do to sort of balance out my day and create some more structure, instead of just waking up and I got the whole day ahead of me, is I got a job where that would take up 10 hours of my week, where it's that's 10 less hours I'm going to give to my schoolwork in a week. And that's something that I needed to do because I was giving 60, 70, 80 hours to my schoolwork and barely sleeping and barely functioning. I decided, hey, I want to get plugged in extracurriculars. That's even more time I'm going to take away, from my schoolwork, and I'm going to be more tired at night. So, I'm going to sleep more and all of that stuff. I also was like, it's important for me to socialize and make friends. I can't just be in college and not, know anybody. So I was like, all right, every day I'm going to be very intentional about going out with somebody for an hour, and we're going to sit and we're going to eat and we're going to talk, and we're not going to have any work at the table, none of that. So, I had to figure out how to structure my time in a way that was how do I eliminate this illusion of, oh, I have 18 hours in this day, let me give it all to my schoolwork, right? I also want you to, as you're evaluating, the things that you have to do, and if you're somebody like me where it's overworking, or even if you're underworking, this is applicable in both ways, but specific to, focusing on that school scale and how you're supposed to be balancing your time for that is, the main thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to kind of take into account both of these things of efficiency and productivity. So productivity, obviously you're trying to, get a lot done, and you're trying to do it in a quality way. And with efficiency, I don't know if you guys have heard this saying of, you want to work smart, not hard. Right. So if there is a way to take to not overwork, I hate to say take a shortcut, because take a shortcut into my mind means like you're going to be bitten in the butt later. But like, for example, if you are a faster typist than you are a writer, okay, well, maybe you should type out your notes instead of write them. If there is a way for you to, I'm trying to think of another example here of working smart and not hard. Okay. Another thing might be like, if you know of an upperclassman, again, returning to that like networking component, if you know an upperclassman who has already created a study guide for a class, and it would take you 5 hours to take that study guide, but they're not taking that class anymore, they don't have a use for it, and they use that study guide to study for their test. Well, if you're friends with them, maybe you should just ask them, hey, can I use your study guide so that I can study? And you not taking that extra 5 hours to make your study guide, and instead you can just study there. So that's an example of working smart, not hard, and utilizing, the resources at your fingertips to make things easier for yourself. You're not cutting corners. You're not taking shortcuts. You're not making it to where, okay, I'm going to do this now, but like later on, I might not learn the material as well. That's not what we're saying. We're just working smart instead of working hard, right? And something that I really like to encourage is when you're doing, assignments for specific classes at the very beginning. I don't know. I believe they do this in high school. It's been a little bit, y'all. It's been 3 years. Is when you get your syllabus at the beginning of, the school year, and you start to realize like how your teachers start to grade things once you've turned in your first assignment or whatever. You always want to see like, what type of grader is this teacher? What type of, expectations does she have for this assignment? Does it seem like there's somebody that, when I write a paper, they're just like reading the first and the last line and not really commenting on anything else in the middle? Does it seem like they're making this more of a completion type grade? Kind of really analyze how it is that your teacher is engaging with your work so that you can actually decide, well, dang, how much time do I need to be spending on this? If it's just a completion grade and, you have somebody who's actually grading your stuff, very nitpicky, well, obviously, which one you're going to want to spend more time on. You're going to want to invest more of your time in the assignment for the teacher who is going to grade your stuff with, a lot more of a just be a little bit more of a stickler with your stuff. So kind of being very in tune with how your teachers are looking at your work, and how they're grading your stuff is going to be extremely, extremely important. These are things that I'm going to go through these super quickly because there's a piece of this that I want to get on more than the other. And then I also want to leave some time for questions at the end. So yeah, what we're going to do is, again, just some more, actually, no, because I know I have a lot to get through. So what we'll do is we're just going to keep it trucking. And then if I have more time, I'll come back to that. So continuing on this note of time management, I, as a student, I've been where you guys are before, and I know that the biggest hurdle to managing our time wisely is procrastination. Okay, that is the enemy in school. That is the excuse that we make for a lot of things when we're up working at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning for a paper that's due at 8 a.m. That is our excuse. And the reason, it's important to, before we tackle procrastination, before we defeat this enemy, we need to have an understanding of why is it that we even do it? Like where does that come from, right? And what I've noticed is that procrastination is really the result and the consequence of thinking that you have more time than you actually have. So you're like, oh, my teacher just gave me this project. It's due in a month. Like, shoot, I got 4 weeks. I got other things that I need to tend to in the meantime. Well, week 1 passes, oh, I got 3 weeks. Like, I still got a lot of time. Well, week 2 passes, then week 3 passes, then day 5 and week 4 passes, and you're like, shoot, it's due tomorrow. What, like, where did all this time go? I thought I had so much time at my fingertips. And the reason that we act that way is because we are creatures who seek, to feel good in the moment. We don't want to have to deal with, things that are going to bring us stress and bring us pain. And if we can do anything to avoid that, we will. So with that project that's due in 4 weeks, you're like, that's going to stress me out. That's going to take time. That's going to be something I got to give mental energy to. No, I don't want to do that right now. Like, I would much prefer to go and hang out with my buddy, today, because, that test it's in 4 weeks. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about it right now. No. That's not the mindset that we should want to have. If you catch yourself thinking like that, the thing that I like to encourage myself and others with is, and really I want you to keep this at the forefront of your mind throughout your life, is to never give up what it is that you want most for what it is that you want now. So if you really want to be successful in school and you want to get good grades and you want to, graduate at the top of your class or whatever it is, if you want to, go and chase a particular job, it is going to take work. It is going to take time. It is going to take discipline. And you pushing that stuff off and choosing to not think about that in favor of, well, it's going to take a little bit of pain and a little bit of stress for me to study for this test. I would much prefer, like, in this moment, I'd much prefer to, like, shoot the breeze with my buddy and go to the movies with them. Well, if you doing what you want now involves sacrificing or giving up that thing that you want the most, that thing that you want more than anything, well, then you need to reevaluate your actions in that moment. Now, I'm not saying, okay, never go to the movies with your friends if it involves, like, you're not going to study for a test or something. You have to just know your priorities. I'm not saying be a robot. I'm not saying, like, literally just eat, sleep, and breathe school. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, you're going to want to do things like eat the elephant a little bit at a time. Don't just think, okay, I have 4 weeks to work on this assignment, this project, and I'm going to wait until the last minute, because that gets us in trouble all of the time. How about, you can go to the movies with your friend, cut your time a little bit short with them, and then come back home and maybe work on a little bit of your project. You can do both. Or sometimes you're just going to flat out have to say, no, friend, I can't. So again, just take some of these things with a grain of salt and don't take them to the extreme. But at the end of the day, I just really want you to make sure that you're not sacrificing those bigger goals that might involve a little bit more stress and stuff, in favor of that immediate gratification, that immediate pleasure. I also wanted to just let you guys know that, we don't often think about how procrastination affects us. We think, when I procrastinate, I have more time to do, like, the other things I want. And, like, I'd much prefer to, like, stay up super late at night and, 3 a.m. in the morning. Like, that feels better to me than, that feels much better to me than, like, actually working on it a little bit at a time, moving up to that point. The reason that doesn't work is because I like to think of, schoolwork and life as like a holiday plate. And what I mean by that is I want you to teleport yourself, close your eyes and teleport yourself to, like, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, whatever. Your family gets together, you got all these sides, these entrees, these desserts, and you just pile up your plate. You pile it on. Then you eat some and you're like, you just, like, pushing some off to the side, whatever. And what procrastination is like is you're just shoving food off to the side. You're like, you're picking at some of it. Maybe those are the assignments that are due tomorrow. And then the assignments that you're not really feeling and they're due, in 4 or so weeks, you just kind of shove them off to the side, right? And, they're at the top of your plate. And then, well, other assignment, your mom is going to come and put more food on your plate because she's going to be like, yo, I made all this food, Mackenzie, you're going to need to eat some of this and help me out. So your teacher's going to dump more work on you and all that stuff that you've moved to the front of your plate. Well, it doesn't go away. It's still there. Your plate is still full. Your plate is still busy. And, like, maybe you're like, I'm not eating it right now. Like, my stomach is not that full, but eventually you're still going to have to eat it. And then eventually you're still going to pop. So what I'm trying to say here is just because you are procrastinating and pushing something off, it's not going to disappear. Truthfully, you're just creating more work and more stress for yourself and more things that you're going to have to eat on your holiday plate later on. And you're going to feel sick when you have to do that, right? So I want you to just keep that in mind when you're like, I feel like pushing this off. Do you really want to push that thing off to the side of your plate? And then later when, you get more work and more assignment, because nothing is going to let up, right? Where you're just going to have to eat a ton of stuff before you take your plate to the dishwasher kind of thing. Sorry, I'm very much an analogy person. So hopefully that analogy was kind of funny. But the point is procrastination doesn't actually eliminate your work. It just makes things harder on yourself. So when you're eating a little bit on your plate at a time and getting rid of things as you go, even the things that you don't like, it's going to make things easier as you continue. So with that, let's go ahead and we're going to speed through this a little bit. I'm going to probably do it in 10, 12 minutes, and then I'll leave a little bit of time. I'll stop at 2:20, 2:18 to leave some time for you guys to ask questions. So this is the really practical component that I wanted to dig into, where it's all right, what are the steps that I take right now, Mackenzie? You told me that I'm going to have, some application things. I'm not going to lie to you. That's what we're getting into. So I've made up a little acronym for myself. This is the acronym that I live by, and it's called PADSA. It's cute. It's catchy, so write this down and keep this to come back to. But everything in this acronym stands for something that's going to help you manage your time better. So the P is having a planner. If you are somebody that's skating by in your life without actually having a planner, a Google Calendar, something to keep track of your assignments and stay organized, boo, congratulations for getting this far. But that sort of mentality needs to stop today or very soon in your future, because again, life does not get any easier. Work does not ever let up until maybe you're retired. So you've got a lot of ground and so many years ahead of you to have to juggle a lot of things. And it is so key that you stay organized with your schedule in a way that works for you. I'm a paper planner kind of girl. I even use my planner during the summertime. But I'm not saying, hey, you got to be a paper planner. Be plan in the way that you need to. I have a ton of friends who use Google Calendar, and they put their classes and their meetings and their appointments all in there. Great. If that works for you, do it. I have another friend who literally just has two pieces of paper front and back with all the months of the fall semester, and she just goes and writes things down and just carries 2 slips of paper on her. Other people I know use a journal and just do a to-do list for every day. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a way to keep track of the things that you have on your plate, that is what you need to do. Because the thing is, people, is this right here. Our brain is an amazing organ, but it is not designed for you to just be like, okay, I'm going to just remember all of this. I'm going to remember that I have an assignment due in 2 weeks. I'm going to remember that I have an appointment tomorrow. I'm going to remember. No, make things easy on yourself. Write that stuff down, stay organized, and you having a daily sort of task list. Not only do you have your dates and all of those things, a way that you're keeping track of those, but a daily task list so that you're like, hey, I can see that later down the line, I'm going to have a test in 4 weeks. How am I going to address that today? Maybe I'm going to read 1 chapter of my book because, I have 13 chapters that I have to get through before the test day, and I want to start early to prepare. So one of my other, life hacks that I like to use for school and managing my time is whenever my teacher gives me the syllabus at the beginning of the school year, I go through it for all of my classes, and all of the key dates are on there. Whenever a presentation is, whenever a project is due, whenever homework is due, whenever a test is, and right before I start school, it's the day before I start school, I have all of my syllabi for my classes because they've already posted it online, and I go through and I put it in my calendar from August through December of the fall semester. I have every date that is ever going to be important for me for school. I already have it in there before the first day of school. And then as other things come up, doctor's appointments, etc., club meetings, I have all of that stuff on a rolling thing. So week by week, I update it and I add it in so that I can keep track of things as they come up, and I don't have to rely on my brain to just remember things. We have too much going on to have to put ourselves through that stress. So that's the first step. Next thing that I want you to do, the A of PADSA, is to assess. Okay. Like I said, work does not let up, people. I'm sorry. That's the dreadful news I have to deliver to you today. But that doesn't have to be doom and gloom, right? Even though we have a ton on our plate, we can avoid feeling overwhelmed by being strategic about how we deal with the stuff that's on our plate. So some of the things that, I like to do when I'm judging how I want to tackle, like, for example, if we go back to that holiday plate, you're like, dang, mom, you put a lot of stuff on this plate. Like, I got meat, I got sides, I got potatoes, I got dessert. You're like, where do I even start? Right. So when you're looking at your schoolwork and you're like, oh my gosh, this week is going to be hell for me. Where do I even begin? These are some strategies that I want you to keep in your mind when you're evaluating your work and how to tackle it. So first thing is deadline. Okay. If you have like a million things on your plate for the week, which of them is actually due first? Okay. Because that's going to have to be the one that's prioritized. You got something due on Monday that you haven't started, and you also have something due on Friday that you haven't started. Well, if it's Sunday, you're probably going to want to work on the thing that's due Monday and Tuesday, right? Instead of the thing that's due Thursday and Friday if you're really forced to choose. So thinking about assessing your work in that way, you want to assess your work in terms of how it impacts your grades, right? So if you have all of these assignments that you're looking at, and there's a test that's worth 50% of your grade, and a little completion assignment that you still need to get done, but it's only worth 10% of your grade. Well, the thing that you're going to want to tackle first and also put the most of your time, your energy, and your effort into is the one that has the biggest impact on your grade. The one that if you mess it up, you are going to hurt a lot more. Your grades are going to hurt a lot more than with that other assignment that's not worth as much. So that'll give you an idea of like, okay, how do I tackle this holiday plate, right? How do I tackle this workload? I also want you to think about when you're assessing is, all right, well, how long are these assignments going to take? If I'm, sitting and I have, 8 hours available for me to work today, and I know that I have an hour, like, for example, I'm going to give you a real life example from my life right now. So I'm going to end this presentation about 2:30, and I know that I have to leave for the airport. I'm going to visit one of my friends in Arizona. I have to leave here at 3:20. So I'm like, I have about 50 minutes to do something with my life, right? And I have a ton of things that I need to get done. So how long are these different things on my to-do list? How long are they actually going to take me? Is there something that I can do in this 50 minutes and actually get it knocked off my to-do list? Like, it's not going to take me 2 hours, but it's probably going to take me 45 minutes, and I can get that thing completely knocked out before I go to the airport. Well, that's the thing that I'm going to tackle, right? Consider if everything is, the same and equal level of importance, everything is due at the same time, everything is worth, the same amount with my grade, I'm going to tackle the thing that, all right, I have just enough time to complete that right now, and that's how I'm going to structure my day. So if this is going to take me 45 minutes and I have time for that right now, that's how I'm going to utilize to make sure that I can get it done, to get it knocked out, to say, okay, that's one thing on my holiday plate that's eaten, and taken care of. I also, when you're assessing things, you want to make sure that you are always reaching a good stopping point. So let's just say none of the things on my to-do list are going to be finished in 45 to 50 minutes. But is there something on my to-do list that I know that in 45 to 50 minutes, I can get to a certain level of completion that's going to allow me to be at a good stopping point? I'm not going to be, halfway through a paragraph, but I'm maybe going to be at the end of my second paragraph, and I'm like, okay, when I come back to this, I don't have to reread, 1.5 paragraphs and write the last, half of the second one, but I can start with paragraph 3. I've reached a good stopping point where, okay, when I come back, I can move on to the next kind of component of this. So that's another way to actually assess the assignments and the things that are on your plate. You're also going to want to think about like, where and when it's even feasible to complete things. So I'm going to be at the airport later, and there are things that I'm going to need to do, but am I going to choose to study for my LSAT when I'm at the airport, even though that's something I need to do? Or am I going to choose to study for my LSAT, when I'm on the plane where things might be a little bit less chaotic for me? I don't know. Those are things that you have to ask yourself when you're, looking at your day and saying, well, I'm going to be, in this location at this time. I know that this assignment is going to take a little bit more of my focus. It's not going to be too loud in this area, or I know I'm going to be with this person later on. They're a math whiz. I know that I'm probably going to want to work on my engineering homework when I'm with them. So in the event that I need to ask them for help, I have a support system there. So when you're assessing the things on your plate, those are the things those are the different components that I want you to keep in your mind. The next thing, the D of PADSA is divide and conquer. So I've kind of alluded to this already, but I am somebody that I already have, probably about a week in advance. I already know what every day of my schedule is going to look like. I know where I'm going to be at a certain time. I know when I'm going to wake up. I know what I'm going to be doing at a certain point in my life. And so, and I don't go too far out. I'm not like, okay, 10 years from now, I know what I'm going to be doing. But for the purposes of plugging and chugging, dividing and conquering, if you have maybe, start easy, start bite size. Before you go to bed tonight, I want you to think about, okay, what do I have on my plate for tomorrow, and how am I going to utilize that time? And what is it that I'm like, where am I going to be at certain times? What are the times of availability that I have to be able to work on things? And how can I plug and chug? Okay, well, Mackenzie told me that, if there's assignment that I can get done in 45 minutes and I know I can complete this in 45 minutes and I have 45 minutes that I'm waiting for the game plan college program to start, maybe I'm going to work on it then. So plugging and chugging things into your schedule based on when you're going to be available, based on when you're free, based on, if it's an appropriate place to work on a certain thing. That's how I like to think of each of my days, before going into them, is like, what I always know what it is that I'm going to be doing and what it is that I'm going to be working on before I get to that moment. I also, when I'm in school, I always try to exercise consistency in when I'm working on what. So week after week of your college career, in terms of what your classes look like in a semester, it's going to be the same. Every Monday, you're going to have the same class at the same time. And that's going to be every Monday and Wednesday, because usually it's a mirror of each other. Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to look very similar. They're going to pretty much look the same. There's going to be a little bit of discrepancy based on the day, or if you have just like a random class that's put in there. But usually your classes are 2 days a week, and it's going to be like Monday and Wednesday, Tuesday and Thursday, might be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Point is you will notice patterns in your schedule. You might consistently every Monday and Wednesday have from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. time to do some homework, time to do some work. And what I like to do when I say exercise consistency is I know that I like to do, the assignments that require the most mental energy from me. I like to do those first thing in the morning when I am, spritey, I'm wide awake, and I have my energy is at its peak. So I'm like, the things that are harder for me, maybe that's, I need to like read this like really painstakingly detailed, book. Maybe that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my psychology work every Monday and Wednesday from that 2.5 hour block, or my French homework during that time, because I know it's going to take a lot of brain power, and I'm going to be consistent on those Mondays and Wednesdays at that time. My body and my brain is already trained that, okay, it's time to work on French. It's time to work on psychology. And we create those. It makes it easier to get into a momentum because we've trained our bodies. Another thing that I want to say for dividing and conquering is eating the elephant a little bit at a time. I love my analogies. You may have heard me mention this a little bit earlier, but essentially what that means is this is one way to beat the procrastination beast, right? If you get an assignment that's due far into the future and you can already feel yourself, I'm tempted to push it off. Ask yourself, okay, at the beginning of each, I'm going to give you an example. At the beginning of each week, I already know how many pages of reading total I'm going to have to do for all of my classes. I know when they're due. I know when those readings are due. And I know, okay, over the course of this week, I have 250 pages to read. All right, so how am I going to divide this up? If they're all due on Friday, I'm going to do, Monday, I'm going to do a little bit. Tuesday, I usually just do 250 divided by, 4 or something, or I might start on Saturday. So 250 divided by Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, divided by 6. And every day I'm going to read a little bit so that when Friday comes, I'm balling out. I'm like, dang, all my reading is done. I don't have to wake up early on Friday morning to read 250 pages because it's done. I've already addressed it. I already knew that it was coming, and I've chosen to do a little bit at a time. Sure, that took a little bit of time out of my day, each day, instead of waiting until Friday and doing all 250 pages then. But trust me, I felt a lot better about, I'm not going to be between a rock and a hard place and stressing myself out over having to read 250 pages on Friday. I'm going to do a little bit at a time. With projects, setting checkpoints for yourself. If it's due in 4 weeks, at the end of each week, already have some level of progress that you want for yourself, so that you can stay on track with actually getting the assignment done by that 4th week. So setting those little milestones and checking in with yourself or checking in with your group and being like, hey peeps, we got 4 parts of this project and all 4 are due in 4 weeks. How about we do part A, part B, part C, and part D will finish the last week or something like that. So evaluating that stuff up front so that you're not caught doing stuff at the last minute later on. The last 2 couple of things that I want to talk about before we open it up to questions is the S and the A. So the S of PADSA is self-discipline. I've given you a lot of good information right now, but the thing is you have to be motivated and inspired and encouraged enough to implement this for yourself. You can see that I'm fired up about it. You can see how passionate I am about it, but I can't care more about your work and more about your life than you care about it for yourself. So if you're like, this is stuff that I want to implement, this is stuff that, I feel like can change my life, then you need to make the decision today, tomorrow, whenever it is that you're ready to say, I am going to be disciplined about doing this process. I'm going to be disciplined about, hey, I've said I'm going to divide and conquer in this way. I'm going to read 50 pages every day leading up to Friday. All right. I've promised myself that. I've given myself my word to doing that. Now I have to actually be disciplined, because all of this stuff, none of this is going to work if you write it down in your planner, you make a bond to yourself and you say, I'm just not feeling up to it today. I'm going to just fall back into my old, procrastination habits, my old bad habits. You've got to buckle down. And even when it's a little bit of pain and you're like, I know I told myself I'm going to read these 20 pages, but so-and-so we're going to go out tonight. And I know that's going to make it to where I have 40 pages to read tomorrow. Do I really want to you got to make that decision in the moment for yourself. I'm the type of person that when I give my word to others, I follow through. And especially when I give my word to myself, I'm going to follow through. So this is where the self-discipline, the hardest part of PADSA is actually doing it, right? Being self-disciplined and motivated to carry it out. So you got to be, stick to what it is that you're saying, that you're setting for yourself, right? And another way to be self-disciplined, you want to make it easy on yourself, right? Is identify what are the things that actually make it hard for you to do your work and to follow through on the things that you've said you're going to do during a certain time of your day? What makes it hard for you to manage your time appropriately? So just to identify some, maybe that's social media. Maybe that's TikTok. You just find yourself sliding and it's like, whew, an hour and a half is gone. And shoot, I said I was supposed to be working on this during this time. Maybe that's hanging out with friends. Maybe that's playing video games. Maybe that's reading your favorite book. I don't know. Whatever it is for you, know that, recognize that, identify that, and say, all right, I can't, no TikTok right now because I'm doing my work. So maybe that means putting your phone on do not disturb and put it in airplane mode and shoving it, in the furthest crevice of your bed so that you can do what you need to do. But make it easy on yourself by eliminating those distractions, by eliminating those things that are going to make it hard on you to do your job. My friends are what really get me off track and prevent me from doing my work. So what I do is I just fall off the radar. When I'm working, turn my phone on do not disturb. I don't answer texts. Everybody knows, okay, well, shoot, if Mackenzie's not answering the phone, she must be working. I go to an area of the library where nobody can find me. I am off the grid, off the radar. When I have set an intention to do what it is that I need to do, I'm like, I'm not letting anybody else, mess with me, because the thing is if I put myself in a temptation ridden scenario, I'm going to fall into temptation. So how do I make it to where I'm not even tempted? I'm going to take the steps to distance myself from those things. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about, and we can take 10 minutes for questions. I know that I said I was going to leave a little bit of time, but if you guys have a lot of questions, I'm happy to stay a little bit longer so that you can ask things. But I just had a lot of information I wanted to share with y'all today. So the last part of PADSA is the affirmation part of PADSA, right? This is a lot of work. Maybe you're like, damn, Mac, you sound like a machine. Where does the fun come in? Are you just working all the time? No. Again, that's not what I'm encouraging you to do, right? Have this mentality of you're going to work hard, you're going to get your stuff done, you're going to make sure you're prioritizing what it is that you want most and those goals that you have for yourself, but you're going to play hard too. Whatever that means for you, if that means hanging out with your buddies, if that means going and, relaxing in some sort of way, going and treating yourself to a nice dinner, whatever it is that you need to do to reward yourself for the work that you're putting in and that you're prioritizing, do that, right? So treating yourself in the way that you need to be able to give yourself a pat on the back. So after I've fallen off the grid and isolated myself from my friends all day, all right, when dinner time rolls around, I'm like, hey, bestie, I know that I was not responding to your text earlier today, but like, do you want to go grab some food or whatever it is? So identifying the things that fuel you and can refill your cup, and making sure that you're, being sure to indulge in those when you've gotten done the other things that you've needed to get done, and that you've been self-disciplined, right? When you're studying as well, I'm really bad about this. But it's really important and psychologically, proven that you're going to need to take breaks while you're studying. So I have the tendency to just be like, okay, I'm in the library for 5 hours today. Like, let's hunker down and just study for 5 hours and we're not leaving. Okay, that's not the way that you are going to maximize productivity, right? It's most appropriate to spend, an hour, maybe 45 minutes cranking through your work, getting in a groove, then stopping, taking a break, going on a little walk around the library, going to the bathroom, putting water on your face, maybe taking 5-7 minutes to just get away from your work, get a clear perspective, clear your head, maybe make a phone call, whatever it is that you want to do, give yourself a little bit of a break, a little brain break, and then get back to your work, right? So not just, man, I'm gonna power through for these 5 hours and then your productivity is just declining as you go. The only thing I caution you to do is when you're taking those brain breaks, I actually set a timer for myself. I'm like, all right, I'm not letting myself have any more than 8 minutes right now, when my phone will go off in 8 minutes. And then, I got to get back to my studying. Those brain breaks can also give you an opportunity again to have a change in perspective. So maybe there's a particular problem that you cannot figure out on your homework, or you're having writer's block with an essay. Stepping away from your work and going and doing something else, whether that's taking a walk, whether that's, looking at another assignment or whatever, it is going to help you when you come back have a better, fresh perspective to be able to tackle the problem that you once were able to tackle. So make sure, sorry, y'all. Make sure that you are doing that as well, and stepping away from your work. The last thing that I wanted to say as well is, when you're tired, go to sleep. And the reason that I have this advice is because I was so bad about doing this in high school, especially. I would fall asleep with my work on me. I would be like studying for something in my bed, or even studying for something at my desk, and then I would just like put my head down because I'm like, oh man, I'm just so tired right now, and then I would just fall asleep mid studying. So if you're tired and you're finding yourself rereading something, reworking the same problem, whatever, because you're just like, dang, I'm just like, my brain is sluggish right now, go to bed, take a power nap, whatever it is that you need to do, but you are wasting time trying to just power through something when your brain is saying, hey, I'm not up to speed with this right now. Like, I need a rest. So honor your body and honor what your mind is telling you. And those are going to be ways that you affirm yourself as well. So with all of that, I know that I've done a ton of talking, and I've had to even cut out parts of the presentation just for the purposes of time. But I hope that all of this stuff was beneficial to you guys, that you've, taken some notes about what from this presentation you want to extract and take with you into the next phase. And yeah, I just have been very appreciative to be able to be here with you guys and to talk today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Actually, no, I will share it again so you can get my contact info, so that you know how to actually reach me. So on my website, if some of you guys want to write this down, on the contact page of my website, I have a place where you can get a hold of me, send me a message. It goes directly to my email. I check it every day. So if you have questions or anything like that, you can feel free to get a hold of me in that way. So I encourage you to take a picture, or whatever it is, to be able to write it down, to be able to reach back out in the future as you need. And with that, Miss Christina, let me know, do we have time for some questions, or how do you want to do it?
Do any of y'all have any questions, online or virtual? Virtual or in person? I really think your support. Thank you for your time, Max. Everyone can give her a round of applause.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's good, Max. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
If there are questions, I'll be sure to relay them.
Okay, that sounds amazing. And then also, would you be able to send me the recording as well? I'll put it up on my website. But yeah, whenever you get the chance, that'd be amazing. All right, it was a pleasure being with you guys today. Have a wonderful rest of your time. And Christina, just keep me in mind for the future as always.